start. Sinaamoy mga concern about sa inyuhang kanang kuan, inyong mga titles. Lang sila concern. So, okay ra. Pagalitin si ma'am. Okay. Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you kayo class sa pag-attend ninyo sa atong klase because it's very important and I know that we are going to learn together sa about para sa ato ang research and this is very important kay magamit sa ninyo no as you go along sa inyo one time lang ni si ma'am makahatag na to og panahon karon. So I'm very thankful nga si Ma'am Nems or si Ma'am Malate is giving us kind of her knowledge about ani sa our research. So while others are still joining, let's start kay we only have 1 hour kay para mas uh, no magamit na to tanan ang time gyud. So dili ko magdugay, let me give you no to Ma'am Nems.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Am I already audible in your end?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ma'am Jen, for having me this afternoon. Actually, pwede na good po ni siya dili, pero the reason why I have decided na if ever pwede ra mo okay si research instructor, I have decided to share some inputs on the research paper format and grammatical content because I realized after years of checking research manuscripts, na tungod siguro kay the research subject is to be taken adto na sa later part in your academic journey. Malimtan na may some rules of the research paper kay ma-discuss man siya English 1, English 2. So dugay-dugay na yun. This afternoon, the topic that I will be talking or I will be sharing with you will only be about the format and the grammatical aspects of the research paper. So ang ihang technicalities, ang ihang content, dili na ako hilabtan since that is for your research advisor or research instructor to decide. And of course, the panel members, puhon-puhon. So ang ahuara jud ani kana ra dong format and the grammatical critical content na in the hopes na by the time na kita moabot sa hua ang research paper for critiquing, medyo lesser na gamay ang focus po nun. Now, there are many man pod nga possible nga research critic ninyo sa engineering. Dili pasabot nga kay ako ni discuss ninyo this afternoon all throughout. Ako'y research critic ninyong tanan. Naaman si Ma'am Villarojo, naa si Sir John, naa si Ma'am Kyra Raot, they are English majors man na you can tap. Pero, the same ang format man sa university. So, maskin pagdili ako ang research critic, all of these rules that I'll be sharing with you still applies. May I just know if the participants are for proposal hearing or oral defense? Kinsa naay mo defend, naay mo proposal, or what is the nature of this subject? Kalimot din ko pangutana ganina.
Proposal pa ni sila tanan, ma'am. Research
Ah,
1 pa ni sila, ma'am.
okay. So all for in preparation for proposal hearings. Okay. So let us start already. Is my presentation already visible on your end?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much. Now let us start. Kanang ayo lang mo katingaha nga kinasimpulan ang uban na mong ipang-discuss kay sa tinuod lang jud my dear researcher. So unsay pinaka-simple sa research format mao pa joy kasagarang dili masunod. That's why I have decided nga even the most self-explanatory details amo siya i-appeal this afternoon. And also I will be giving Ma'am Jen a copy of my presentation this afternoon para siya na lang share ninyo puhon-puhon sa inyong classes. I'll be sending Ma'am Jen a copy of this presentation later. So for the format of the research paper is that first, use a short band paper. Now, anong kailangan ako emphasize ang use a short band paper? There were countless of times that I was given a copy of the research paper nga naka-long siya or naka-A4. Sometimes sad, kana bitaw siguro nalipat ang mga bata, giprint nila sa long, ilang gi-cut. So nahitabo, murag originally long, nga nahimong short, so natandog na sad ang margin. And remember that the research paper is a technical paper. So gamay sipyat sa spacing, sa margin, mo matter siya. So as much as possible, ayaw nang dili ta magmugna og kaugalingon natong short band paper. Use a band paper that's really short to begin with para dili kay inikat, dili madaot ang margin pati ang contents. Another is with the margin on the left side is 1.5 while right top and bottom is 1 inch. And please do not forget to justify the right side margin of your paper. This is because kanang 1.5 or kanang 0.5 nga offset sa left kay i-bind pa man ang libro. So kung naka 1 inch na tanan, ang mahitabo maglisod na og basa sa mga contents nga naa sa left. I have also come across a paper nga nabaliktad naa sa right side ag iyahang 1.5. The rest kay kanang naka 1. Yeah. Do not forget to justify your margin kay para dili mo raog nagmarathon ang inyong paper sa tumoy. Ang uban diri ning end, ang uban na adiri, ang uban na adiri, ang uban na adiri kay gagukod siya. So do not forget to justify the right side margin of your right up. And then for the indention, it's 10 single spaces from the margin or one tab from the left side of the margin. Remember that there is only one set of margin and one set of indention all throughout your right up. Maskin pag naka 3.1, 3.1.1, 3.1.2, 3.2.1, 3.2.1.1, your indention does not change. So isa ra jud ka indention all throughout your right up. And ay ubang students or ubang researchers na kung 3.1 isa ka indention, inig ka 3.1.1 murag nakaduha na po ning tuplok sa tab mo nang na-change na po ang indention. Remember that in any right up there's only one set of margin and one set of indention. So example sa margin kani siya, example sa indention for this kani siya 10 single spaces may 1.5 margin on the left or one tab na nakaset na daan sa Microsoft Word. That's your indention. And then for the spacing, it's 3 single spaces between headings and paragraphs. and two single spaces between sentences. And do not leave a big empty space on your write-up except for chapter breaks. However sad, do not leave any header or a title hanging. So what does it mean? Kaning leaving big empty spaces, say for instance, naa ka sa 1.3 objectives of the study kintahay. Na halfway through the bond paper, nahuman na ang tanan nimong nahuman na tanan nimong objectives. You continue with 1.4 on the same page. Ayaw siya i-continue on another page. Not unless na ka sa 1.7, that's definition of terms kintahay. Unya ang next nga page kay chapter 2 na bahala og usa ra ka word imong nabutang ana nga page for as long as transition na ka to another chapter, okay ra nga na kay big empty space. But if in case, ang nasa tumuigo na lang ka nagbutang dirag 1.8 hypothesis of the study, unya ang kanang content na nasa sunod, pwede na to nimo i-adjust for as long as kana ra ang condition. And then, for the paging, your preliminary page, ang preliminary page sa research kay that is your cover page, your title page, approval sheet, acknowledgement, abstract, table of contents, list of figures and tables. So those are your preliminary pages. For preliminary pages, hide the page number of the first page of every part and then use a small Roman numeral and it is located at the bottom center. So mo ni timani kay mo ni kasagarang ma-interchange sa students kay ang content ano naman sa upper left. Pero if preliminary pages, it is at the bottom center. Unya, if it is the parts of the research paper already, use the Hindu-Arabic and then upper right-hand corner na. Still, if lead page siya, say for instance, kanang first page sa chapter 1, first page of chapter 2 sa chapter 3, it will not reflect the page number. However, they are part of the counting for page numbers. So how are you going to get the spacing? So to get the spacing, you highlight the selected paragraph and then on the home part of the toolbar, click on the small arrow near paragraph, choose double for line spacing, and make sure that the before and after for the spacing are set to auto. I know medyo lisod imagine nun. So let me show you an example of how to do the spacing. So let me share another screen. What I usually do, my dear researchers, is that kung ako'y nagama og research, dili na ko dayon i-apply ang spacing while I am writing. Most of the time or most often than not, I continue with my write-ups. Dili sa lang nako una-hunaon si spacing. Hindi kahuman ako mag-space para di ko malibog. So for example, I hope my screen is already visible on your end. So random lang ko nga mag-type class hacker para lang to show you an example. So say for instance, I am writing my research paper. This is one paragraph. Hi. So what I do is, of course, ako ni siyang iset to, ako na siyang iset kay this is the beginning of the paragraph, so that's one tab or 10 single spaces or sa from the 1.5 na margin. Of course, wala ako set ang margin ani. This is just to show the spacing. So you can highlight everything. Unya, anis, you make sure nga sa page layout naka-zero ni siya kay usually di ba og mo open ta og word kay it's either naka-6, naka-8 or naka-12. Sometimes po naka-auto. So you make sure naka-zero sa page layout ng spacing for before and after. And then there is sa home, you also make sure that line and paragraph spacing are also set to 1. Kaya wala man na siya zero. Now, to get the two single spaces, you would notice na on this part, nakamakitaan nga paragraph, and then across that is a small arrow. You can click on that, and then naa siya box. And then, for line spacing, you choose double and you make sure na sa spacing na before and after is also set to 0. And then don't forget to click on OK. After that, this is already your two single spaces. So you can continue writing and you would notice ngayon, abot na sa end, inigabot na sa end sa right side ng margin, the next line, automatic na siya nga need space. So therefore, automatic na ni siya nga naka two single spaces. However, if you need to start another paragraph, so say for instance, mag-period na ko dili kay that's the end of my statement. That's the only time I will click on enter kay para makuha ang three single spaces. So not unless di ka start ka og new paragraph, ayaw click og enter. Kay automatic na to imong giset ganina nga two single spaces. But if you click on enter, that's the time na makuha nimo ang three single spaces. Dili na naandan sa uban bitaw nga students na three single spaces, three times po mag-enter, enter, enter. So hitabo, dako kaayo to nga spacing. So I hope the spacing is clear. Again, do not click on enter not unless you have to start with a new paragraph. So let me share my presentation back ato kung i-share ganina. So that's spacing kay mao na siya kasagarang sayop sa students usahay. Ako konsensya na hinuon ko kay okay na ang content, okay na ang grammar, okay na ang tenses of the verb, but I would have to return the research paper tungod sa spacing. So mo na itong timan-an. So another is, say for example, kani siya ang gingon ganina nga for a preliminary page, it is reflected on the bottom center of the paper. And then, ang kani siya nga example, kay this is the acknowledgement part man. Pero wala pa ni sa inyo nga write up karon since for proposal pa man mo. So this is what I've said a while ago sa spacing. Say for instance, this is your chapter 1. So since this part is the lead page, so therefore this being the lead page, the page number is not reflected. And then from the word chapter 1 to the word introduction, that's double space or two single spaces. Another thing that you have to remember for research is that sa unang gikaigon din na it's very technical. So sa words nga chapter ninyo, dili siya all caps, but the title of each chapter is set to all capital letters. So then from the word introduction to the first part of the chapter 1, kaning 1.1, which is background of the study, that's three single spaces. Now from the title, from the subtitle to the first paragraph, that's another three single spaces. And then for its content, so from this sentence to this sentence to another sentence, that's two single spaces. And then when you start another paragraph, just like this one, ma-apply na po itong three single spaces. Para dali siya hinumduman, three single spaces between headings and paragraphs, and two single spaces between sentences. Para dili hinumduman og ano sa ang three single spaces o ano sa ang two single spaces. So say for instance, part pagyapon is in chapter 1, but it's no longer the lead page. That's why the page number is already reflected on this part. And the three single spaces, since you are going to start with a new subtopic or a new subtitle, which is the problem, and the two statement of the problem, inigabot dire. For this part, my dear researchers, kanin bitong yung statement of the problem and what are the main features of the multiple tablia molder in terms of, remember that 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, these are all considered to be a part of one paragraph. So therefore, it will only be using two single spaces and not three. So two single spaces between 1.1 and 1.2, two single spaces between 1.2 to 1.3, and so on and so forth. Dili siya considered nga one paragraph, one paragraph, one paragraph. It is considered to be a part of an entire paragraph for number 1. So ang naaray three single spaces ani is between 1.5 to number 2. Ang kintahay last si 1.5. Next is font size. The font size is 12 for general context, and for the in-text citation, you use font size 10. Do not italicize if ever mag-in-text citation. Wala say open and close parentheses since it is already considered to be an in-text citation. Then for the font type, generally it's Arial. So mas palang inyong bet na font type is Arial narrow or book style bakaha or monotype bakaha. For the purposes of research, the font type is Arial and the font style will be bold for headings and subheadings. So kanang tanang titles nimo, may it be a subheading, may it be a major title, you set that to bold while all the rest dili na siya naka-bold fits. So, another thing is the discussion on the theoretical and conceptual framework, your figure number one. Technically, ang kani di siya kinahanglang figure man nga makitaan sa inyong research study, kay mao man siya nasa chapter 1. Ang common mistake inigabot sa paggama sa figure 1 is that i-touch ang solid line nga arrow down to the broken line nga naa dire. Remember my dear researchers nga dili siya mo touch, na lang siya ay gamay nga space. The reason for this one is that one, your theories can exist without the legal basis. Mura ba og dili dependent to one another ang theory ug ang legal basis. Pwedeng mo stand imong study og theory ra unya wala ni pikas kay nganuman there are instances where in novel ang studies wala pa siya na-appeal sa 1987 Philippine Constitution kay dili man po ka mo gamit og law nga dili sa Pilipinas. Di ka po, ma'am, applicable man nga law pero sa Canada, sa Australia, that's not allowed. So therefore, pwede nga novel ang study, bago ang study, therefore wala pa siya promulgation sa 1987 Philippine Consti nga maangkuran. So pwede na ni siya wala nga part. The reason why broken line siya and dili siya mo touch going to the other variables of your study, the independent variable, the dependent variable, and all the other concepts and ideas that your study has. So mo ni siya isa sa pinakatanaw nako. Another thing that you have to remember for figure 1 is that it immediately follows the first page of the theoretical background of the study. Di ba, 1.1 is background of the study, 1.2 is statement of the problem, 1.3 is objectives of the study, 1.4 significance of the study, 1.5 is scope and limitation, 1.6 is your theoretical background of the study. So say for example, you started 1.6 halfway through a page of the bond paper, kaya diba ningon mo ko ganina nga do not leave any space hanging. Ang mahitabuan na niya class kay bahala pa og pag-abot nimo sa tumoy nga margin, ang imong last word kay as. Pinapaw ta kay sumpay nga as well as the other laws of the Philippines. Kung nasigo na lang ana nga part kay as na lang. You need to try to go to the next page. Yeah, butang tag page 6 na siya. Ang page 7 should already reflect figure 1. Nya siya ra po isod ana nga entire page. Ma'am, asa man ako isumpay tong as well as the other blah blah blah. Adto to siya sa page 8. And of course, dili na ka mag-indent kay you did not start a new paragraph man. More lang na siya unwritten rule, kumbaga, in our university that the figure immediately follows the first page of the theoretical background. So I hope you remember this one. And then I told you about in-text citation a while ago. So this is an example of an in-text citation. Naka-offset of another 1 inch ang right side margin. So, diba na ang sa right kay 1 inch man. So, butang tanaa diri ng 1 inch. So, you set another 1 inch na ana rataman ang imuhang in-text citation. You do in-text citations if you are to put a verbatim statement with more than 40 words and then you present it in block form, font size is 10 with no quotation marks. So, you would notice nga naka-block form na siya, wala na siya gi-indent. Kay understood naman siya nga in text siya, understood na po siya nga you have taken that one entirely from a source. Kita ang tibuok Philippine Mechanical Code Section 4, iya man nagi-quote tanan, so mao nang iyang gamit ang in-text citation. So for the point of view sa research, may it be chapter 1, chapter 2, 3, 4, or 5, we use the third person point of view. Dili man empathic, dili pud emotional ang research paper. It's a technical paper. So we use the third person point of view. So do away with I, we, us, you. Ma'am, unsaon man ako ma'am if I am referring to ourselves, kami nga researchers. You can say the researchers looked for related literature that will explain the relevance of concept A and concept B. Ma'am, what if I am referring to kitang tanan ng mga Pilipino? Can I say we Filipinos? Wrong. You can just start your sentence with Filipinos are known worldwide to be. Nga na. So avoid us, avoid these terms. Always gamit sa third person point of view. So initial pages of the research paper are as follows: the cover page, title page, approval sheet, acknowledgement. Remember sa spelling sa acknowledgement, wala na siya E. Aning a part, kay we are following the IPA or the International Phonetic Alphabet that follows the American spelling. And then abstract, table of contents, list of figures and tables. There are some studies nga ang ibutang kay list of tables and figures. Um, Gauna ang figures before sa table. And if you would ask me, ma'am, why is that? The answer is law of um, alphabetical order. Letter F comes before T. More po na explanation sa taga-research people nako. So that's the same explanation I will be giving to you. Note that for acknowledgement and abstract, they are not needed for proposal hearing for obvious reasons. One, the acknowledgement is there because you are to acknowledge and give thanks, quote unquote, to everyone who has helped you accomplish your study. Kay proposal pa man inyong stage, so that means o panahon man. So wala pa mo'y pasalamatan ng bonggang-bongga. And then for abstract, ang abstract man would be researchers kay in one look ang mubasa, makahibaw siya what is the study all about, what are the methodologies that you had to went through to finish the study, including the findings, the recommendations of your study. But since paman po mahuman ang study, kaya for proposal stage paman siya, wala sad ang abstract. But all the other initial pages are present. And then this is the cover page followed by Bohol Island State University. So like sa akong giingon ninyo ganina, very obvious kayo ang uban ng mga discussion. These are one of those. So for the cover page, it is an inverted pyramid no format. Di lalo ko magpakita ninyo pyramid kay murag na sobraan na ginaka-obvious. Na timingan lang nga the example that I am giving you karon kay one-liner ilahang title. But if it happens nga taas-taas ni siya, so pa-inverted pyramid ang iyahang forma. So from the title, you would have 13 to 14 single spaces down to this part, College of Engineering and Architecture, Bohol Island State University main campus. Unya, remember that for Baisu, naka all caps siya and set to bold. So bold and all caps. And after that, another 13 to 14 spaces would be your names. Following the format ng first name, middle initial, and then last name. Usually, ang gi-follow nga format man for writing the names kay maguna ang name sa leader of the group, and then magsunod ang uban nga members nga naka-alphabetical arrange. So in this case, we could infer nga the leader of the group is Mervin Christian Godito, unya pa ni si Coquilla, Reserva, and Valiente, whose names are alphabetically arranged, are the members of the group. And then on this part would be the month and the year wherein you are to propose. Pero kani siya nga month, remember, nga dili siya ang month of tintahay ning propose mo December. Di ka mangkutang ani December 2022. What you will put here is the last month of the semester that you are to propose. So say for example, karon man mo nga month, karon man mo nga semester mo propose. So maskin pa ang inyong proposal kay ini ka December, but since the semester will end somewhere in January or February, I'm no longer sure. But just in case, if ang atong SEM is mo end on February, ang ibutang ninyo ani kay February 2023. It would be the last month of the semester that you are to propose. And of course, the year, kung ano sa apod mahuman ang semester. And then the title page is just an expanded version of the cover page. Same gihapon. An inverted pyramid format nga naka all caps and naka bold para sa title, all caps and bold. Kunya ang nakalahi lang kay this time before you go to this part na ay space, 14 spaces nga nakalinya, dili broken line ha, naka straight line siya, solid line. And then going to a thesis proposal, since mo propose man mo, presented to the faculty of the College of Engineering and Architecture. Nakasuway ko sa unang class nga nagsobraan ka literal ang ipas sa mga bata. Naka-open close parenthesis, naka-all caps, naka-red, naka-bold ang word nga proposal. Gituyo lang na siya na nga nakaingana siya to emphasize nga ingani nga format kung proposal pero kung mo oral defense na mo totally mawa ni nga part. Wala na ni siya nga part for oral defense. Kana lang for proposal, but of course kana lang letter P inyong ikapital, wala ang open close parenthesis, and dili po siya red, naka black siya. And then same goes na nga Bulacan State University, all caps, boldface, main campus ng Bulacan City, another solid line before you go to impartial fulfillment of the requirements for the degree Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Architecture man mo, naka-bold face siya but not all caps, another space, and then another solid line, and then your names, the same sa kung sa arrangement sa name ninyo sa cover page, and then the month and the year sa inyong semester nga mo propose mo. And then the approval sheet, always remember that the names which will be signed must be set to boldface and it should be capitalized. So kaning nga case, this thesis proposal, so the title of your study nga naka all caps nga set to boldface nga do not forget the pod nga since this is a title of your preliminary page, naka all caps siya, naka bold, unya three single spaces before you go to this part. Unya do not forget nga pulihan ang inyong kurso. Unya proposal hearing ang ibutang for proposal hearing, oral defense puhon maluing Ginoo o mo defend na mo. So pulihan na ninyo nga part. Unya the thesis committee is composed of the department chair, the statistician, the critic, yours truly, and your advisor. Kung mahitabo, dear researchers, nga si inyuhang advisor o inyuhang department chairman kay one and the same person, ayaw balik-balik ka ubutang ihangan. So for example, ug ani nga case ug ang advisor pa ani nga study kay si Engineer Murigo, ang mahitabo kay chair slash unya itapad ninyo ang advisor para kas-ara siya mo perma. So chair slash advisor unya wala na ni nga part unya approved past tense by the examining panel, capital E, capital P, kay common mistake na sa students during the proposal hearing, of course, kung proposal hearing conducted on this date. Remember nga, the date reflected here should be the same with the date reflected sa ubos. Kaya mo, yahuga February 29 mo ani, nya ani ga March 2 mo. Remember nga kani o kani nga date magpunong na siya, dapat pareha na sila. You can leave this part blank kay it's not the practice of the university man i-divulge ang score kay score ang grade kay of course makita siya daghang kayong tao kay butang sa library butang sa research office, so it has been a practice nga blank lang gid ni siya. Yeah, examining panel is headed by the chair of the department not unless siya ang advisor. Kung siya ang advisor, the instructor can assign another person nga mo stand as chairman of the examining panel kay dili man gid na mahitabo nga ang inyong advisor unayon mo o kana pangutana. And then of course the last na mo sign is the campus director. Kuan lang siguro as of this moment ang namirma pa sa tanang approval sheets kay si Dr. Patenya, kay si Dr. Patenya pa may na during the time na nag-propose sila or nag-defend. Pero a few weeks ago, we now have a new campus director in the person of Dr. Jean Nebrea. So maybe next year pa man siguro mo mag-proposal, by that time, siya na ang ibutang ninyo diri nga part as your campus director. And always lang po, bear in mind nga we follow kung unsang pagpaperma. So technically, before mo magpaperma sa examining panel kung tuhon, nag-unag yung perma ni mga tauhana kaya na sa babaw sa thesis committee. Nga last nga mo perma ka na yung chair. That goes the same way sa ubos, nga last nga mo perma ang chair before mo magpaperma ni Dr. Patenya. Di kay ug nakakita mo sa campus director mo kahit na pagpaperma niya empty pa kayo ang ibabaw. What usually happens sa thesis committee kay it's either dili mo perma si advisor o di mo perma si critic, di mo perma si advisor o di mo perma si statistician. Hindi mo perma si chair o pa nakaperma ni tulo. That goes the same sa examining panel. And then for acknowledgement, puntuhon, you mention every single individual You have become very vital to the success of your study. And again, use the third person point of view. And then abstract, puhon-puhon o magawa na mo abstract. Um, it's only one paragraph with 250 to 300 words, full block. So you would notice wala naka-indent. And it must contain the following: the main problem, sub-problems, hypothesis, if naa, kay ang hypothesis sa study is optional. Na yung ibang study nga wala, nag-hypothesize, na po ibang study nga nag-apply og hypothesis. The research methodology, kung taas kayo ang methodology that you have used in your study, you get the gist of the entirety of the methodology that you employ in your study, that you employed rather in your study, the general findings, general conclusions, and general recommendations. So basically, mubo ra gyud ang abstract lang. In one look, mao din ni study. In one look, ing ani di ang hitabo sa kaning nga study. And then this is your table of contents. All caps and table of contents. Three single spaces between you have the word page. Unya, two single spaces between these lead pages. So your title page, approval sheet, acknowledgement, abstract. If ever na aning duha kung oral defense pohon, table of contents and list of figures and tables. So from the list of figures and tables, so that's three single spaces before sa chapter. Unya kani sa chapter, my dear researchers, na ni siya very gamay pero technical nga aspect. You would notice nga three single spaces from the word chapter nga dili all caps. Unya murag ubos sa letter R, or murag directly nga murag tag igo ka na human sa letter R, ubos niya adto ka magbutang sa one, and then introduction, and then three single spaces katong content sa chapter 1. Another three single spaces before on chapter 2. And you would notice wala ga balik-balik o butang ang word nga chapter. That is the reason why ini kahuman sa letter R pa ka mabutang sa 1. Kaya that serves as the chapter na nga word. Gikan sa chapter 1 taman sa chapter 5. And because on this part, you will be writing the page numbers of your content. What will happen is dili nimo sa pawan. So as much as possible, there is no page number nga makita on this part of your paper. Ay, page number, sorry. Walay content. So kung mahitabo nga kaning theoretical, so kung mahitabo nga for instance kaning nga part taas ni kaayo niya napay word dire, ani na siya i-continue sa next, page class sa next part rather, kay dili bita na mo uban na kita 9, 10, 11 ang abot dili kanay word nga the. Remember nga kani nga linya dire one straight line, page numbers ra tanan ang makita. And then list of figures and tables, dili ni siya nimo i-continue sa table of contents. This goes for another page. Bahala pa og sa list of figure bahala pa og ang table of contents na pay space sa ubos. Another page tables, figures and tables. And then these are the different chapters of the research paper. Sa una, three chapter format kasi by Sue. And then a couple of years ago, I think it was in 2017 or 2018, ning transition siya from three chapter format to five chapter format. So chapter 1 is introduction. For a while, klasa, karyo lang naman. Okay, so chapter 2 is the review of related literature. And then for chapter 3, it will have the methodology of the study. Chapter 4 is data presentation, results, and discussions. And for chapter 5 will be your summary, findings, conclusions, and recommendations. But of course, in your case, since proposal pa man mo, you would only be needing until chapter 3. Taman pa mo ang methodology of the study, dili pa nigad ang data presentation and then your summary findings and recommendations for proposal hearing. Again, for proposal hearing, taman pa mo sa chapter 3. So reminders for chapter 1. So hapit na tama human, we're almost done. Figure 1, the theoretical and conceptual framework is the only content of the page that, sorry for the clerical error class, that immediately follows the discussion of the theoretical background of the study. Muna kung giingon ninyo ganina, kato bitaw, bahala pag-as na lang yun ang nagbilin nga word. The page after that, ang figure diretso ang makita. And then, arrange the definition of terms alphabetically. Kaya di ba, ang last part sa chapter 1 kay definition of terms, you arrange it alphabetically and remember that the definition of terms contain the terms nga inyong gi-define operationally. Dili tong dictionary meaning bitaw kay siguro sa ako nga case. Kung mo ng short stories, na may dictionary meaning of what a short story is. But how does a short story function in your study? So mao na imo ang i-define dili ang dictionary meaning sa word, not unless special case nga the dictionary meaning of the word or the term is also the same as mao po na siya function sa inyong study. So therefore, no need na siya nga ibutang sa operational definition of terms. Kay again, it is already the basic definition of the terms naman. And then for chapter 2, citation at the beginning of the paragraph is siya pagsuwat Malate, open close parenthesis, 2002, comma, states that. So kung unsa ang gisulti kintahay ni Malate. Pero if the citation is at the end of the paragraph, say for example, today's economy faces greater challenges compared to 10 years ago. Everything is enclosed in an open close parenthesis. So Malate, comma, 2022. So I hope nakita ang difference. So kung nasa kinaunahan sa paragraph, ang citation, inganiun siya pagsuwat. If nasa tumoy, inganiun po siya pagsuwat. Kanang end of the paragraph ang citation. And then with more than 40 words, present in block form, font size 10 with no quotation mark. Mao ni ang in-text citation. And then citation, nga na ay 2 to 5 authors, you mention everyone sa first instance. Kintahay ang author sa inyuhang related study kay si Libot, Dalaguan, Nistal, Ligan, and Ingking. So silang lima ang imuhang i-mention sa first time nga pag-mention ninyo sa kana nga study. Pero kung balik-balik ko na ninyo siya mention all throughout the study, you can just say Libot et al. 2022. Nga na kintahay. And remember nga for et al, adto sa al ang period. After sa letter L ang period, dili ka mag-period sa et, mag-period po sa al. And then do not forget to explain the reason behind why the RRL is related to your study. Kaya again, for chapter 2, it is the review of related literature. So after nimo i-discuss ug unsay concept sa RRL nga imong gi-cite, you should also be able to discuss kung anong related siya. What concept, what idea, ngana. And then observe at least 5-year recency. Kani siya ang naay gamay nga liway. Ang 5-year recency, by the way, dear researchers, is only applicable for related studies. Dili appeal ang theory. Kaya di ba, theories could go on, bahala pag panahon pa na ni kopong-kopong. But as much as possible, kung related study, we go for 5-year recency. Kung dili makaya ang 5 years, kay gamay ray makitaan, maybe we can go until 10. Pero beyond that, maglikay na ta. Nga man, kay what happened 15, 20, 50 years ago may not be relevant to the society that we are living in right now. What happened to the world from 150 years ago may no longer be relevant sa time karon. So as much as possible, we observe 5-year recency, pero kung di makaya siguro ang 10 passable. And then for chapter 3, use the future tense when it is on the proposal stage. So kay kani inyo ang stage karon kay for proposal man, so future tense tanan the researchers will, the respondents will, the data gathered will be. So tanan na siya naka-project for future tense because again, you are yet to conduct the study. Pero kung nahuman na og conduct ang study, the methodology, the process and all, kung naana mo sa oral defense na stage, inyo na po nang i-change to past tense. So the researchers went, the researchers gathered, the researchers analyzed, and so on and so forth. And then, however, timeless truths shall use the present tense. What are examples of timeless truth? Findings of your study is considered a timeless truth. Theories are also considered timeless truths. Findings of related studies are also considered timeless truth. Kay as far as your study is concerned, mao man toy imuhang truth. So kasagaran ani ang inyong yung i-past tense kay katurang methodology or the process that you had to go through to finish the study. And then avoid using the phrase by the researchers for obvious statements. What does it mean? Naamang go instances the researchers na naay mga write-ups nga mabasahan nga moingon og kanang the data were collected by the researchers. Pwede na lang mo kuhaon ng by the researchers tungod kay kinsam di ang gather sa data. Lahi sad kaayog ang campus director mo ining gather. Lahi sad kaayog ako mo ining gather, di ba? So for obvious statements, for obvious matters, you can do away with the phrase by the researchers. And then tables as label is found on top while figures as label are found at the bottom. Tables as label are found. Sorry for another clerical error. Kana bitang table 1 sa label ana niya dapat na siya sa ibabaw sa table. Pero kung figure pareha atong nahitabo ganina sa figure 1 di ba nga nasa ubos sa figure. So kung figure na siya adto siya sa ubos, nya kung table na siya nga label adto sa babaw. For chapter 4, basic ra ang reminder, um, present data in these forms, and then it will generally use the present tense. And we call table 9 shows that figure 11 depicts the kay manong dili man past tense nga humana man may conduct sa study kay chapter 4 na good, dili na mo siya i-past tense because table 3 is just there, figure 11 is just there, wa man wa di man mo vanish away imong figure 11. And again, the findings of your study the findings of your study already are considered to be timeless truth. And then for the recommendations, use may instead of should as you offer your recommendations for the future researchers. Dito mag should kay we only offer man something that future researchers can do in order to improve the study. We only offer recommendations, we do not impose. So as much as possible, di siya na to gamiton ng should. Kanang future researchers should. Kaya mo na taga-mandar. May lang. Future researchers may opt to use another blah blah blah. And then for the reference list, follow the APA style format. Arrange alphabetically using the family name of the author. Hanging indention, include the date the source was retrieved. If kuan siya kanang electronic resource, kana bitaw um, before sa URL ibutang nimo ganus siya nimo na retrieve. And then the articles the and a are not included in alphabetizing. Justify the right side margin para di mo ra gagukod imuhang write up. No color, no underline. Example. Mga yun na po kung sorry kay for whatever reason nganong guning nauna na ko ning Albert kay sa Einstein nga apelyido man kaning Einstein. But just to give you an example, this is what I've said when I say nga the articles are not included in alphabetizing. So even though the title of the book is the book on electricity consumption, since the article the is not included, you enclose the article in open close parenthesis and then you alphabetize using the first letter of the second word of the title of the book or the journal. And again, family name siya, nasayop lang ko aning a part. I'm so sorry. Unya, for example, kani since this is electronic source, gibutang o ganus siya gi-retrieve. So meaning kani siya nga libro, kani siya nga PDF or kung unsa man gani ni gikuha ni niya pag September 18, 2015. The reason why nganong naa ni kay para ma-check na to if recent basad ang iyang gi-appeal nga reference. And then researchers biodata, basic information, contact details. The reason why we include our contact details is because na tendency nga the future researchers may contact you for clarifications, for possible linkage or a possible collaboration. I thought sa una when I was a student, joke-joke ra ni ingani. But I had the experience nga with my master's nga study. I graduated man in 2015, and somewhere 2018, somebody contacted me kay na siya she wanted to discuss something about my study and a possible collaboration. And it was great because I was really thinking matunugan ra na sa library ako ang study, but when I was contacted, I really made sure nga if naay opportunity nga mapabutang sa din ako siya sa ako ang mga students, akong ipabutang tungod kay makatabang dai siya kay somehow there are really people who would like to contact us because of the study that we are to conduct or that we conducted. And then formal 2 by 2 photo with good print quality just like this one. So researchers biodata is naka S apostrophe kay maskin pag lima mo ka researchers sa first page ra na sa researchers biodata mo gawas, and because this is a lead page, no page number is reflected on this part. And then just a short review of the subject and verb agreement before we end this afternoon's session. Please indulge me. Kung mula pas magaling alas stress gamay, pwede pa man siguro. But dali lang ni siya. Just a review lang para lang matarong gamay ang write-up na to. So generally, ang subject verb agreement man good kayo. You just have to know the nature of your subject for you to know what type of verb are you going to use. Kay subjects and verbs would always agree in number. So singular subject would need singular verb, a plural subject would need a plural verb. The only challenge na lang yun is identifying what is, who is, or how many are the subject of your sentence para makahibaw po ka kung what form of the verb are you going to use. So if the subject is singular, the verb must also be singular, just like this one. She writes every day. Our subject of the sentence is she, and since this is in the singular form, then we use the singular form of the verb as well. And then if the subject is plural, the subject is if the subject is plural, the verb also comes in the plural form. Kung ingana lang unta ka simple no, kanami kag the researchers are. So sayon na to kay with S man so automatic na dayon nga plural form of the verb. However, na may gamay mga others ang rules sa subject verb agreement. When the subject of the sentence is composed of two or more nouns or pronouns connected by and, we use the plural form of the verb. Pareha ani nga example. The percentage of respondents who were randomly selected and the number of predetermined respondents who answered the given questionnaire within 2 days are reflective of the level of satisfaction. Now, maskin pa og usara ang goal sa imong tibuok sentence, but you would notice nga lahi ang respondents who were randomly selected, lahi pod ang respondents nga predetermined, meaning you have two separate sets of respondents. Therefore, you have a plural subject and we use the plural verb because ang gi-connect sa and kay two different entities man. When there is one subject and more than one verb, the verbs throughout the sentence must agree with the subject. Pareha ani. An assumption is something that is generally accepted as true and is an important consideration when conducting a doctoral study. So in this sentence, ang ato ra man jung gihisgutan is assumption regardless of its acceptability and regardless of its consideration when it comes to conducting a doctoral study. So we only have one subject even though there are more than one verb that is found in the sentence. But di ba ang rule kay the verb always agrees with the subject man. So when a phrase comes between the subject and the verb, remember that the verb still agrees with the subject, not the noun or the pronoun in the phrase following the subject of the sentence. So for example, the researcher as well as the committee members is excited. So in this sentence, the only entity that we're talking about or the subject in the sentence is the researcher man. So regardless of kinsa ng mga committee members, you're only talking about the researcher. Maskin pagkuhaon to ng phrase nga as well as the committee members, the subject still stands. Kaya di ba, a complete sentence is a complete sentence contains a subject and a predicate and it expresses a complete thought. Di ba man definition na itong sentence since elementary. So natay subject, natay verb, complete atong sentence. So maskin pagmawa ng phrase nga as well as the committee members, the entire sentence still stands. And then strategies that the teacher uses to encourage classroom participation include using small groups and clarifying expectations. So in this case, our subject is already on its plural form, strategies. So therefore, we use the plural form of the verb. So ato lagi yung pangitaon ug asa ang subject sa sentence. And then when two or more singular nouns or pronouns are connected by or nor, use a singular verb. Obviously because mamili raman ka, di ba? Nga wala man tay counter for nothing. Kay nothing man ang nor. Wala man tay counters, obviously we will be using the singular form of the verb. Kaya di ba, og mag either or ka, you will be choosing one from the options presented to you. And then, when a compound subject contains both a singular and a plural noun or pronoun joined by or nor, the verb should agree with the part of the subject that is closest to the verb. So this is the rule of proximity. This is when compound ang subject. Kay di ba ganina kay simple subject raman to. So the student or the committee members write every day. So kung nahitabo pa ni nga nabaliktad, na duol pud ang student sa verb, ma-change pod ang verb form of the sentence. Ani nga case man kay the rule of proximity tells us since this is the verb of the sentence, since this is the verb of the sentence, unya ang closest niya is in its plural form, so we use the plural form of the verb. The same sentence nabalhin lang ang positioning, committee members or the student, and this time the law of proximity tells us that the verb agrees with the nearest subject, and since our subject is in its singular form, we also use the singular form of the verb. So meaning, si English class, bitik-bitik ko na kanya sa position because of the rule or the law of proximity. And then the words and phrases, each one, either, neither, everyone, everybody, anyone, anybody, nobody, somebody, someone, and no one are singular and would require a singular form of the verb. Kaya obviously, anyone, isa, anybody, isa lagi hapon. Mabito ng wrong ng greetings nga. Good afternoon to each and everyone. Kaya redundant na siya kay ang each, tagsa-tagsa, ang everyone, tagsa-tagsa pa yun. And then non-count nouns take a singular verb. So the information obtained from the respondents was relevant to include in the study. Kaya di ba naa may ingana nga rule, napod sa rule sa English na kanang countable noun, some countable nouns would already kana take the plural form of the verb kay kaya na goods. Kung kuhaon mo ng letter S, ang mahitabo, good na lang siya and it changes the meaning na of the word. Para ng earnings, kung kuhaon po di mo ang S, it changes po the meaning of the word. And then in sentences beginning with there is or there are, the subject follows the verb. So since the term there is not the subject, it's not the subject, the verb agrees with what follows the verb, just like this example. So collective nouns like group, team, committee, family, they are considered singular and they take the singular form of the verb, just like this one. So not unless special exemption, kung ano sa first sentence you would notice man nga the committee agrees on the specified revisions of the study, meaning it is taken as a whole. The research committee is taken as a whole, and we are not talking about the individual members of the research committee. But on the second example, you would notice that the research committee participate in giving recommendations for the future researchers. So that means the members it's themselves na the individual members of the research committee ag hatag og recommendations for the future researcher. So, if ang ipasabot ninyo sa sentence is the entirety, we use the singular form of the verb. But if we talk about the individual members of a particular committee or a particular group, we take the plural form of the verb. And then additional reminders before I end, avoid starting a sentence with because nor and kay these connecting words or these conjunctions kay nag-express man sila nga naa kay gisumpayan. So kung mo pa gani pagsugod mo sa sentence nga and kadayon, so di ba when we use period baya ka it's the end of a thought, it's the end of a sentence. So dili ka mo start og another sentence nga ga-connecting. So avoid starting a sentence with because nor and. Since it is a group output, always remember to use the plural form when you address yourselves. Kay daghan kay kung makita na ni nga the researcher, sara ibutang, daghan man mo. So avoid big empty spaces. I have discussed this a while ago. And wear something formal when you conduct experiments or data gathering. This is because I encountered countless of times nga ga data gathering pero nang nilas, ng gisando, gamay na lagwang murarag, parang nasa bahay lang. And remember that the research endeavor itself is a formal, technical, academic endeavor. So as much as possible, wear something formal. Dili necessary nga naka-coat and tie or naka-polo. But as much as possible, dili po ta magpambay when we do data gathering. Labi na kay, we picture ourselves by ibutang. Yes, Joshua, you're saying
Ma'am,
something?
yes, ma'am. This is Three Salinas, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. We have a class at 3 p.m., ma'am, from a different subject. So will it be okay with you, ma'am, if we leave with you?
I can hardly hear your voice, but if I'm not mistaken, you have a class at 3 p.m. Don't worry, this is already my last slide naman sad. And then avoid the use of contractions in your write-up. So instead of isn't, is not, instead of aren't, are not. So we do not dili na to i-contract ato ang mga words. We spell them out. So no isn't, weren't, doesn't, and to. So that's it for this afternoon. Thank you so much, Marag. Lapas tagamay sa time kay kuan. May gani kay pag-call sa kong attention kay last slide na po nako. So thank you very much. I know nga this may sound very cliche kay kanang kapoy lisod unya matest atong patients when you write a research paper siguro sa ato ang document na tay research 2, research final, thesis murag final, thesis final na unta ni, thesis Lord maluoy ka final na unta ni, kinagana tang file name. But this may sound very cliche, but I hope that you enjoy the research journey that you are about to take. So good luck and God bless on your research journey. And I am just around the school if ever you need to ask me about something. Mag face to face naman po ta hapit. So just approach me. Na under man po nako ning uban ani sa una. So murag kamo nakailan ako kay kakita man mo sa kong naong magklase ta virtually. Just approach me sa school if you have anything that you wish to clarify. Ma'am Jen, thank you very much
Thank
for
you so
having me
much,
this
ma'am.
afternoon.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Ma'am
you.
Nels, Mama Lati, for sharing your knowledge sa mga researchers. And for those students nga naanay klase, you can now leave the sa ato ang Google nga Meet kay para makamit na pud mo sa lain ninyo nga teacher. And thank you good kaayo Mama Lati for sharing sa imuhang knowledge about ani ma'am, especially katong related na sa grammatical bitaw nga katong subject and verb kay para at least sayon-sayo na lang inag-check ma'am no, if you can just imagine naapay civil, naapay computer engineering, kinadaghanan, and imagine may subject kani sila two sections, 23 na ni sila tanan nga grupo. So we will be having another koan class nga kita para mas ma-entertain ako if you have questions para sa inyong research kay going through naman ta sa pagsugod na sa inyong research work. So thank you so much Ma'am Malati for that very comprehensive, very comprehensive pag nga explanation. Thank you so much ma'am for your time. Thank you kaayo, and for the students, sa researcher, thank you po sa pag-attend ani sa ato ang klase. You can now leave the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye ma'am.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Bye, everyone.
Excuse me, ma'am. Can I ask
Yes.
something, ma'am?
Yes,
Kanang,
yes.
sorry ma'am, karon ako nakapangutan. About bito sa title nga, connect mi sa LGU. Okay na to, ma'am. Kaya wala ba may kapangutana sa usa ka research title namo?
Kuan lang kanang mas maayo kung nakapa-check na mo sa inyong ubang teacher, nakapapili na mo.
Wala pa pod, ma'am. Murag ugma pa mi magpapirma pod.
Kanang mas maayo kung unsay isa ka asa adto nga title nga gi-submit ninyo nga katong wala
Sa ano, ma'am?
kuan.
Group 10 man ni ma'am. Then amo ang usa ka title is Restoration of Camp Verde for the Duero bitaw, ma'am.
Kanang mas maayo siguro og kanang mangutana gyud mo, or I'll encourage you nga istoryaha una pod inyong advisor. Istoryahan ninyo una inyong advisor sa mga gi-propose ninyo nga studies kay basin naa pud siya ikaingon nga ayaw lang ni nga study ingon ana ayha na to i-finalize gyud totally inyong titles. Though nakasubmit naman jud mo og title, pero mas maayo gyud nga kanang mustorya sa mo una sa inyong researcher kay bag-o ramang sad good nag-ingon si Sir Dalaguan nga mas maayo gyud nga mo storya gyud mo sa LGU kay para dili ka ni magbalik-balik. Kay naa mag instances nakahimdom ko na instances before nga kintahay naa na say mga title no naa na title niya kana ang nahitabo is mautoy na pilian sa mga teacher kay nice gani siya nga topic, and then wala pud kasaba mga students nga wala pa day sila naka-ask or naka-storya lang sa LGU ingon ana nahitabo na usog siya sayang, pero ani na ni class kay pamanta no beginning pa maning ato ang mga pagsugod sa research nato 1 to 3 chapters naman sa dang atong gamon. We still have November and then December, taas pa nga time. Mas maayo siguro take time sa mo nga i-present sa na ninyo sa inyong advisor kay para naapod sila ma-share ninyo kay ang kanay mga advisor naapod sila na dako man gud ilahang part ani nga research kay they can also use this research para i-present nila. So you have to have kanang kuan jud inyo jung adtuon na siya nga teacher bisan pag kanang siguro lisod siya pangitaon, kung mahimo mo try gid mo sa inyong best nga mag-istorya gid mo ana nga advisor kay di ba gipagama mo na ako individually sa inyong ganahan nga topic, and then wala to ninyo napilian no naa na mo na kuan nga topic, nindot siguro adto mo ninyo sa inyong advisor, and then ingnon nimo sir mao ni among or sir or ma'am mao ni among napilian nga mga kanang title, and then if naa siya murag sige i-revise lang gamay ni nga title or mauta na siya, what if ingani naman po na siya ika-suggest, and then after that sa suggestion sa inyong advisor you will finalize your kanang titles, and then kung naay mga changes ana siya, i-resubmit lang ninyo sa kanang kuan. Ako la usbon tong deadline, i-off na lang nako ang deadline ato para ma-resubmit ra gihapon ninyo, or magama na lang siguro kog lahi nga kanang kuan para pang final na ingana na lang siguro class, then I will be kanang mag-meet lang ta. My next kuan, my next schedule sa research will be murag karon raman siguro. Sa B is naa pa ko'y tomorrow. Sa A is karon ra no 1 to 2 PM ganina. So I will just place announcement na lang class dito sa Google Classroom, and then please check it from time to time kay naa mo gud mga bag-ong instruction nga gihatag sa si Sir Dalaguan kay para dili daw mo magbalik-balik. So taas ako istorya no, pero to answer your question good, mas maayo gyud nga kanang mastorya ninyo tong inyong LGU. So ayun sa lang ninyo dali-dali inyong pa-check sa mga teacher, mas maayo gyud nga mastorya na ninyo together with your advisor. So klaro ra ba akong gisulti?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you,
Kung
ma'am.
dili ako kayo mo stricto sa deadline for now kay taas-taas pa ang time nga pwede ninyo i-google sa inyong research. At least makasugod na ta kay para ganina si ma'am critic man si ma'am no, daghan kay siyang student ato bangon. At least kanang makauna-una mo sa iyaha og kanang pa-check ana, o di ba? So daghan ba ang mga estudyante. So and sa ato apong mga December nga time, at least naa pa mo'y taas-taas nga time pod kay you still have other subjects, naa pa mo'y building tech, o di ba? So daghan mo deadline sa tubangon. So anyway class, good luck with your research. Unya let's pray for safety sa inyong kanang magbuhat na mo sa inyong research, and good luck. Napa mo laing question?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Sige. You can now leave the Google Classroom kung wala na may question.